let's begin. Let's begin. Someone's just joined us on Zoom. Huge thank you to North End and Adas for facilitating this hopefully beautiful Mesillas Yesharim hour every Sunday night now. An hour with the Ramchal, one of his classic books called Path of the Just. This is part 3. If you've missed out the first 2 chapters, then the first 2 classes, if you go to Rabbi Avi Hill on YouTube, now hopefully you'll see I've got a YouTube account called JNetwork613, which we're loading the classes within a few hours afterwards. So you could always catch up on them as well. Okay, let's learn. This should be in merit of all those cholim that need a refuah. Should be aliyah neshama for those who have passed away recently. Mitzvah now misha nechnas adar marbim b'simcha. There's a huge simcha in the air. Be'ez Hashem, hopefully the Mageifa now can be on its way out, and on its way in can be Mashiach, please God. So what better way to get ready for Mashiach than to learn Mesillas Yesharim tonight? So we got a quick recap. In week 1, we learned that we all have a mission in life. We all have a mission in life. So week 1 was for you to work out what your mission was. Week 2, we spoke about the way to succeed, to get to Olam Haba, to get to the world to come, is ironically via a physical world, via Olam Hazeh, via this world, and utilizing mitzvahs which gets you from A to B, get you from Olam Hazeh to Olam Haba. 2 nights, if you go to the bottom, so this is the book, Mesillas Yesharim, the very bottom over here, we're up to the last paragraph on the first page, the 4th paragraph of the Sefer. Let's go through it together. Says the Ramchal, when you look further in the matter, you will see the ultimate perfection, the only thing in this world which has perfection is dveikus. You know, we say, was that perfect? Was that perfect? Was that project perfect? Was that song perfect? Was that meal perfect? When you say the term perfect, says the Ramchal, almost mockingly, the only time you can use the term shalom, complete, or perfect, is when it comes to dveikus. When it comes to unity with Hashem. If Hashem is not involved, what is it? It's nothing. It's garnished. It has no significance if Hashem is not involved in the process. Because all there is Hashem. And all the whole purpose of creation is to get close to Hashem. So an act where you did not get close to Hashem, an act where chas v'shalom, there was no dveikus involved, mazeh. What even is that? And then noch to call it perfect, to call it amazing, to call it wonderful, hardly. Then it says the Ramchal, he brings some proofs from David HaMelech. V'hu mashaya David HaMelech, oimer David HaMelech in Tehillim, says, Va'ani kirvas Elokim li tov. So one of my favorite lines in Tehillim, in chapter Ayin Gimel, 73 in Tehillim, Pasuk 28, a long one. This is an amazing line, where David HaMelech says, Va'ani, for me, kirvas Elokim li tov. The only thing which is good is closeness to Hashem. Let's not even use the term good if it doesn't involve closeness to Hashem. So I don't know what you've done today on Sunday afternoon, or those living in Israel listening in now, late Israel on Sunday evening. If you've done something, if those in London have been watching the football, and some of you might be Arsenal supporters and watched Arsenal win 4-2, you might have said, wow, that was so good. It definitely wasn't good. Not only because I'm a Spurs supporter, but because Hashem wasn't involved. If, during the game, you did a lot of learning. There was a big tzaddik from Israel, some of you might know, called Rabbi Zev Lev. That he was famously, he went to I think it was Israel, Scotland, if I'm not mistaken, because he's from Scotland. So he took some of his family in Israel to the game Israel-Scotland. And they picked up on him, and all the way through the game, he just was learning. He just was learning. So if someone went or was watching the Arsenal game and they were really learning, or they were davening, maybe there were some Leeds supporters that when they went 4-0 down, they started saying, I'm going to do tshuva now. And they started doing tremendous amount of learning and davening and finished off Sefer Tehillim. Then it was good. Then it was a good game. But if Hashem wasn't involved, if closeness to Hashem, if mitzvahs were not done, then it wasn't a good use of time. It could have been fun. You could use the term entertainment. You could use the term we need to relax. Beseder, use all those terms you want, but let's just not call it good, says David HaMelech. It ain't toiv. Toiv is exclusively kirvas Elokim. So if you go and have a good meal, as we said last time, please God, post the pandemic soon, you'll be able to go back to your favorite restaurant, right? So if you go to Kaifang and you're sitting down and you're having the most wonderful food, and the end of the evening, you can't say, wow, what a great night. That was good. The Ramchal will say you can only say it was good if you made good brachos before you ate. You said a nice Devar Torah through it. You maybe did tshuva. You had spiritual experiences through that, where you elevated the food. You made a kiddush Hashem. Maybe you gave the table that you wanted to someone else. If you did mitzvahs through the meal, great. We can call it toiv. But if there was no mitzvahs done, if there was no Torah learned, if there was no dveikus achieved, that's not called toiv, says David HaMelech. And on that pasuk, a really amazing story I heard on this pasuk, which I never forgot. And you can look at this, I'm sure it's on YouTube, the actual whole story. There was a true story. I heard it from the man himself. He was a prince from Swaziland. Prince from Swaziland. So in Central Africa, the prince was asked to go to Oxford University to go and do some of his studies. So the prince went off to Oxford, and he was fascinated. He was sitting next door to this Jewish chap that was writing from right to left, and he was fascinated and intrigued, because normally, obviously, language is left to right, and he wanted to know what that meant, and he started getting to know this young Jewish student and started talking to them, and it's the first time he really met a Jew before, and he started getting involved. He went to a Shabbat meal and started going to some of the Jewish persons' JSOC events, to hearing some of these rabbis talk, and the Swaziland prince was absolutely inspired and intrigued. And it's something had spoken to his soul. And the Prince of Swaziland started to actually have thoughts. Maybe I should convert to Judaism. And then he straight away said, what am I doing? I'm the prince. I could become the king one day. And my father would literally throw me out the country, never let me back in if I decided to convert to Judaism. But he kept on. And finally, he did have a conversation with his father, and the father said, as he thought, if you even dare to attempt to go down this ridiculous route, I didn't send you to Oxford to become Jewish. I sent you to Oxford to become smart. So if you do, you'll be thrown out of the country. We won't ever speak to you again. So that was enough for him to end his conversion dreams, until the following September, where he was walking around Venice. And he was walking past a shul, and he heard the sound of a shofar. He actually heard the sound of a shofar. It was Rosh Hashanah. Divine Providence had it. He was walking outside a synagogue on Rosh Hashanah, and he was very much drawn in and went in and started praying and realized that it's God's telling him he does want him to become Jewish, and Hashem's trying to bring him to Torah. And from that moment, the Swaziland prince made a mission and went to study in Israel, study in Osamer, to try and find out what is Torah, what is Judaism. And he was willing to leave it all behind. And he famously went to the Bet Din in Yerushalayim. And when the Yerushalayim Bet Din, after a few years of his learning, they said to him, pray tell me, why on earth do you want to convert? Why do you want to convert? The Swaziland prince said this pasuk. He said this pasuk of David HaMelech. He says, I want to convert because King David says, Va'ani kirvas elikim nitayv. Because for me, the only thing which is good is closeness to Hashem. What's the point of life without closeness to Hashem? And I've been, thank God, involved with conversions for many, many years. In my family, we've had the merits of teaching hundreds of people who have converted. I never once heard that was their reason that they gave to the Beis Din. And obviously the Beis Din were super impressed. And he went through, and he's now a rabbi in Israel. His name is Natan Gamedzi, and you could look him up. And that's a Swaziland prince. And I think it was about 10 years after he converted, there was finally a reconciliation with his family. It was on the news in Swaziland, and it's all good, both in this world and more important, Olam Haba. I'll never forget. Isn't that amazing? You go to the Beis Din and say, I want to convert because Va'ani kirvas elikim nitayv. The only thing which is good is closeness to Hashem. And that really should inspire all of us every day to know that if we want goodness in our life, if we want happiness in our life, if we want success in our life, the only way we can have that is via kirvas elikim, closeness to Hashem. And then he brings another pasuk, Va'omer, and he says, and it's the famous pasuk from Tehillim 27, which is, by the way, good Tehillim for any of you who've got a need for clarity in your life. If any of you are a bit of a crossroads, you're not sure, should you go this decision, that decision, marry that person or the other person, then a good scholar for clarity is Tehillim number 27, where we say, Hayreini Hashem darkecha Hashem, please show me the right way. But there's another pasuk there, where David HaMelech writes, famous pasuk, Achas sho'alti mi'es Hashem, Hoisa avakes, quotes Mesillas Yesharim. There's only one thing I ask of you, Hashem, just one thing. Can you imagine, my dear friends, if you just had one thing that you could ask Hashem, just one thing, what would you ask Hashem if you just had one thing to ask? What would you ask? Would you ask to win the lottery? Euro Millions, going very well. I think it's about 150 million this Tuesday night. Maybe you'd ask to win that. Maybe you'd ask to get married. Maybe you'd ask... Well, do you know what David HaMelech asked? Shifti beveis Hashem, kol yimei chayai Hashem. I just want to live in your house all the days of my life. That's all I want. That's all I want. Just to live in your house every single day. But it's an amazing thing he says. He says, kol yimei chayai. How many of us say, Hashem, yeah, I'm happy to come to Shul on Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur, 2 times. I was thinking about it, when someone gets to Olam Haba, they're going to say, because all there is Hashem. There's nothing else, right? There's no football matches, there's no Netflix up there, there's definitely no unorthodox, there's maybe orthodox, but there's no entertainment per se. All there is Hashem, just Hashem. So, God forbid someone can come to Hashem and say, okay, Hashem, I want to be part of you. And Hashem says, okay, so for the whole of your life, you chose to be with me for 3 days a year. So, okay, we have our 3 days, then I'll see you 362 days time. I'll see you again. Chas v'sholom. Or some people say, I'm going to be close to Hashem on Shabbos. I'll do once a week and 3 times. So I'll do 3 times plus Shabbos. So 55 times a year. So then again, maybe Hashem would say to them, okay, we can be with me. We can have Dveikus and Olam Haba. We can be in my circle for 55 days of the year, and the other time, again, come see me later. Or you can do what David HaMelech said, again, for those people who go to, let's say they go to shul 3 times a day. If it's just 3 times a day, and the majority of the day, Chalila, there's no Dveikus, then again, it could be you go to Olam HaEmes, and Hashem is like, okay, you can be with me, it's Shacharis time, okay, I'll see you later, come back in 4 hours time, and by the way, in Olam HaEmes, there's nowhere to go to. So that's, in a way, what Gehenim is. Part of Gehenim is not being able to be close to Hashem. The Olam HaEmes is either closest to Hashem, or Chas v'Sholom, not allowed access. You're not allowed the code to get in, God forbid. So what Hashem will do is the output of, which is Olam HaEmes, is based on the input of Olam Hazeh. So the goal, David HaMelech says, every second of every day, just like in Olam HaEmes, all there is Hashem. So in Olam Hazeh, all I want there to be is Hashem. All I want there to be is that Dveikus. So every day, Hashem, never let me go. Never let me go. I just want to feel you, be with you, connected to you 24/7. That's maybe what the Rambam means by saying that I feel lovesick towards you, Hashem. That's that incredible level of feeling in love where you never want to be apart. And the Rambam writes in Hilchos Tshuva, that's the goal of the love we should be having between us and Hashem. And this is what David HaMelech means. Kol yemei chayai. Not to have a holiday from you, not to have, a lazy Sunday afternoon where you're not involved, to be connected to you 24/7. And then he says, Ki rak zeh hu atayv, because only that is good. Only that is good. V'chol zulas zeh she'achshavu b'nei adam l'tayv, and anything else that people perceive as good. So, for example, some of you might say, "Oh, I think brand new Ferrari is pretty good. I'm up for the brand new." Anyone there likes brand new Ferraris? So, if you say it's toiv, it's not toiv. Do you know the only time that Ferrari will be good? If, hopefully you know what I'm going to say, if you do a mitzvah attached to that Ferrari. Maybe you sell it and give it to stocker, or you do mitzvahs with it. You go and you do volunteering with it. You take people to vaccines with it, right? If you do mitzvah with a Ferrari, then there can be an element of the Ferrari which is toiv. But if there's no dveikus to Hashem, if there's no mitzvah attached, it ain't toiv. Even if it could cost £50,000, doesn't mean it's toiv. Okay. Eina ella, and then he says it's even worse than not toiv, the Ferrari. It's hevel, it's empty. V'shov nisse, it's deceptive worthlessness. A financial, material merchandise which has no spiritual significance is nothing. Garnished. So, yes, tefillin can be a physical entity, and that's worth infinity. That's worth an eternal amount because it's a mitzvah. But if there's a beautiful, it's amazing. Any of you who like your red wine, there's ways to make your wine really good by doing mitzvahs with it. If you do mitzvahs with your wine, great. And obviously we've got Purim coming along. Dafka, it's wine you're meant to drink, not whiskey or vodka or liqueurs. Nichnas yain, yotzasoid, wine comes in, secrets come out. That's the goal of Purim, in a sense, to drink. You're meant to drink to get to a high level of dveikus to Hashem, which is really what it's about. That's the truth. So that's the way to make wine good. That's the way I make Coca-Cola good, by drinking it now, to help me give a share. So then maybe I can make Coke good, even though some of you might say, no, because I shouldn't be doing it. Probably not. Anyway, I want to share with you something beautiful from the Kedushas Levi, Rabbi Levi Yitzchak Bedichev, what he actually writes on this week in Truma connected to this Mesillas Yesharim. Let me share this with you. It's awesome. So the Kedushas Levi, on this topic, if we just expand it a little bit, says the following. He says there are three kinds of love in the world. There's forbidden love, which is you love something which Hashem doesn't want you to love at all. Probably my kind of love for Coke is probably one of them, if I put my hands up and take responsibility. Or chves, something that it says in the Torah which is mamish osa. Someone who loves cigarettes, someone who loves non-kosher foods and you're Jewish, then these are all things that would be forbidden love. God forbid a married man loves another married woman, that would be forbidden love. Second is, he says, it's permissible. It's permissible. It's permissible love. It's permissible love. Hashem hasn't put a ban on it. It's what I call neutral love. So for example, if you love food, right? How many of us love food, right? So there's not osa. I'm saying Coke, I think you could argue might be osa because it's not good for your health, maybe. But say chicken, as long as you're not allergic to chicken, that in a sense should be neutral love, as long as it's kosher chicken, and it's not a mitzvah to eat chicken per se. So it's what the Kedushas Levi calls neutral love. But then he says there's the truest love, ultimate love, and that the only real love is that it's love which emanates from Hashem. And the Kedushas Levi says a person must seek out the inner love, which is hidden in these neutral things, and draw it out using these things for the love of Hashem. What does that mean? So, for example, if someone just says, personally, my favorite sushi is sashimi. I don't know if anybody likes sashimi, right? Mine is sashimi. So I could say I love sushi, right? I love salmon. So Rav Dessler used to say anyone who says I love salmon is obviously not telling the truth, because if they really loved fish, then like, my daughter's got now, I'd get a fish tank and put the fish in the tank, and then I would feed the fish. That would be my way to prove that I love the fish. When we say I love sushi, we don't mean I love sushi. We mean, actually, I love myself, and I love the way it makes me feel about myself. That's why we devour it. Chas v'sholom, Rav Dessler says, sometimes when we talk about love between man and man, we can make the same mistake. If two people in a relationship, and so one says, I love you, what does that love mean? This is Rav Dessler. Is it that I really, really love you, and I'm here for you to give to you? Or is it I love the way you make me feel about me, which is a very non-idealistic type of love. That's called a sushi love. That's a selfish love. And the Mishnah in Berkei Avos says the goal of love is to have unconditional love. But what Kedushas Levi is saying when it comes, let's say, to if anyone really likes fish or sashimi, the way to do it is to say azoi. First of all, there's an amazing thing, I don't know if you know, that dafka we should have lots of fish on Shabbos. Many reasons. Some say that the Gilgulim of Tzadikim that come back and we Mekadesh the Shabbos with the fish. Essentially, there's a lot of... Hashem wants you to have fish on Shabbos. Let's just say that. And therefore, when you have the fish, you're doing... Even though the gematria of Dag is 7, which is Shabbos, Dalet Gimel. It's something where there's no Ayin Hora to do Dag, which is, by the way, this month is called the month of Dagim. Pisces is the month of Dagim, is a month where it's very hard for the Ayin Hora. It's the month of tremendous Simcha. So there's amazing spiritual aspects to fish. And therefore, if next time you have fish, you save your favorite fish for Shabbos, if you save your favorite fish for Shabbos, then you've done the Kedushas Levi's type of love for fish, where you're doing it for Hashem, because really all there is love for Hashem. So you're using the fish as a conduit and as a medium to enable you to have dveikus with Hashem. So that's high love. That's very high love. But tragically, we're a million miles away from it. So there's a famous story that some of you might have heard about the Kedushas Levi. It always makes me giggle. And it goes like this. So after the Kedushas Levi, first of all, he studied at the court of a great tzaddik called Shmelka of Nichelsberg. And then he traveled to the saintly Maggid of Mesillas, who was the Baal Shem Tov's spiritual heir. And there he nullified himself under the Maggid. A few months after he'd come to study under the Maggid, the Bedicheva, which is the Kedushas Levi, wanted to spend the Shabbos in the court of the Baal Shem Tov's grandson, who was called Rav Baruch of Mesillas. So he requested from Baruch the invitation to join him for Shabbos. But to his great dismay, he was refused. Reb Levi Yitzchak said, but why? Why can't I spend Shabbos in your holy courts? So Reb Baruch sighed and said, my sweet Levi Yitzchak, please understand. I know how enthusiastic you are in your service of Hashem and how you serve Hashem with such passion. And as many hundreds of Jews come all over Europe to join me for Shabbos, and the accommodations are scant, met people many times on the edge. Frankly, I'm worried that your outburst, your passion, which is uncontrolled, might cause a scene, or worse, I'm really sorry, I don't think I can afford the risk. And the Bedicheva was heartbroken. He spent the next few days davening to Hashem to change the Rebbe's mind. And he went back to Rav Baruch, the grandson of the Baal Shem Tov, and said, please, Rebbe, have compassion. I promised I'm going to try my best to control myself. I would act like everyone else. I won't run when I pray. I won't shout when I learn. Please, can I just have Shabbos with the Rebbe? Seeing he couldn't refuse him anymore, and how sincere Reb Levi Yitzchak was, Rav Baruch relented and agreed to host Reb Levi Yitzchak for the upcoming Shabbos. The Bedicheva, he was tremendously joyous now. He was going to spend Shabbos with the great Rebbe, with the grandson of the Holy Baal Shem Tov. He ran back to make the appropriate preparations. He kept telling himself, got to control myself. I've got to pretend I'm normal. And the Rebbe said, just remember, you said you wouldn't make a scene. Please try to control yourself. During the Friday night davening, Rabbi glanced nervously at the Bedicheva, and he found him. He wasn't doing crazy. The Bedicheva used to literally be all over the place, like running around shul, doing very intense actions. He wasn't. He was swaying with quite a lot of calmness. He was clearly sticking to his word. Anyway, after the davening was over, the 100 or so guests in the town were invited to the dining hall, where the meal was set to be served. So everyone's standing at their places, and they begin to sing Shalom Aleichem. After Kiddush says Hamoitzi, and the waiter's entering the hall carrying a large tray of gefilte fish. So he's walking around from seat to seat. He's asking do you like fish, or do you like chicken soup? What do you like? And when the waiter came to the Bedicheva, who was sitting down, he bent over and he whispered to the Bedicheva, does Levi Yitzchak love fish? Does he want fish? He said it in Yiddish. Right, Levi Yitzchak hoodlib fish. Does he really want fish? Does he love fish? And that's it. That was enough. The Bedicheva, at that point, he began to tremble and shake. He was just asked, does he love fish? His face turned colors as he rocked back. He jumped up like a spring and he threw his hands in the air, knocking over the waiter's tray and sending the gefilte fish all over the room. With fire in his out, he starts saying, Levi Yitzchak loves fish. Levi Yitzchak loves fish. Levi Yitzchak only loves Hashem. That was it. And the Rebbe at that time pulled a piece of gefilte fish from his shtreimel and a piece of gefilte fish from his talus. He realized how holy his talus now was. And that talus that the Baruch had was the talus of the Baal Shem Tov. And the story goes that from that moment, he never washed again the talus, because he felt that stain of the gefilte fish was a stain of such love of Hashem. The Rabbi Yitzchak's love of Hashem knew no bounds. He couldn't control. When he was told he loves fish, in his mind, Rabbi Yitzchak was saying, in not Hashem, and he just couldn't hold himself together at that point. He saw the incredible holiness and the kedusha of that talus, and he never washed it again. And that's, I think, a beautiful story for us to try and remember when we say about loving. I love this, I love the other. A lot of people love their cars. No, they love their cars. If you think about it, you should only love that which you can take with you in the next world, for a start. And you can take with you in your next world your mitzvahs. You're taking with you in your next world your relationship to Hashem. That's what you've got with you. So it's that which we should be loving. And we should start looking at our material possessions as that. Material possessions, which if we do it right, yes, we can make holy and we can elevate, but they're still a medium. They're still a conduit to our dveikus. Okay, the next time, therefore, someone crashes into your car, or you spill something on your favorite suit, relax. Not the end of the world. Lo sof ha'olam. And look at it as a kapara. Anyway, that's the first part of the Ramchal. Let's continue now. Then he says, Omna, for a person, lekashayizke ha'adam latova hazos, back in Mesillas Yesharim, for a person to be entitled to this good, to this dveikus, ra'u, it's only appropriate, sheyamol rishona, that he first labor, v'yishtadel b'yosel iknaisa, and he must make the effort to acquire it. A really deep idea, which if you grasp this idea, can change your life. The Ramchal saying that the aspects of your spirituality which really come super easy for you, which you're not putting a lot of effort in, that's not going to be the critical areas of dveikus. When we talk about dveikus, we're talking about dveikus where you've had to work hard to achieve it, to attain it. So, for example, for some of you right now, maybe you're sitting back, you've got nothing else to do on a Sunday night, so you're sitting on your armchair and you're listening to the Rabbi. So that's nice, Baruch Hashem, enjoy. But if any of you actually have had maybe a stressful day, there's actually other potential things you could do. Someone else wants you to do one thing and the other thing, and you're now going to make the effort, even though maybe it's not as natural that, part of your Yetzer Hara doesn't really want to sit down and listen to the shir now. But you fight your Yetzer Hara and you say, okay, I'm going to put the effort in at least another half an hour of learning the Holy Torah of the Ramchal tonight. That actually, ironically, will make it more precious. When you do a mitzvah, b'tsar, says the Gemara, when you do a mitzvah through effort, that's worth 100 shaloi b'tsar. So someone who's ill and they're able to continue davening or learning, I really feel during this pandemic, people that have still managed to go obviously in a socially distanced way, still in a safe way to shul, whether it be this Shabbos for people who they're davening outside when it was feeling like it was -7, mamash -7. And for 2.5 hours, there was 3 Sifrei Torah and Hallel. And many of us was outside in the freezing cold with your feet turning to icicles. And you're able still to stay, Hashem, I love you. My relationship with you is more important than my toes. And it doesn't matter that it's uncomfortable. It doesn't matter that it's inconvenient. What matters is that I get a chance to have Parshas Shkolim in a minyan. I get a chance to say Hallel in the minyan. I get a chance to do these mitzvahs, right? So by doing that, if you are able to forge your relationship with Hashem through effort, incredible. Incredible. That's one of the things that got me when I got ill years back, was that from that moment on, it was much harder to learn to daven. But what got me through the rain, as they say, was the notion of the little I could do. It was about the quality, not the quantity. And I think for any of you that have gone through different trials and tribulations and stresses and challenges in your life, if you've been able to persevere with your ruchnius at those moments, it's that which is incredibly precious, which is somewhat counterintuitive. You would have thought the things that really comes easy, the things perhaps that you excel about, will be the areas of your olam ha'emes, but actually not so. It's the things that you had to really overcome. If you've overcome your midas, where someone who's got a natir towards anger and they've overcome their anger, etc., etc., it's that which is hard. Because, as the Ramchal explains in Derech Hashem, in the way of God, listen to this. There's a principle called Nahama Tikisufa, which is from a Gemara in Yesharim, bread of shame. When we get to the next world, Hashem doesn't want to give you a reward that you don't deserve, because if you did, you'll be embarrassed to receive it. If I gave any of you £1 million tonight, I said, well done for listening, you win the £1 million reward. Hopefully, you'll be super awkward about receiving it. You're definitely not going to feel good about yourself. You'll probably take it and say thank you, but you're not going to feel good, as opposed if any of you work really hard for a project and put all your effort in and then receive the $1 million, you feel a much higher sense of satisfaction. And that's why Hashem has actually made us in this world. Otherwise, Hashem could have easily simply took us automatically in Olam HaEmes. And the reason he didn't fast forward us to Olam HaEmes is because he needs us, for our sake, to deserve, have an opportunity to earn that Dveikus. And that's what the Ramchal is saying here. And therefore, so that's why mitzvahs are the means to work hard to achieve. In other words, mitzvahs shouldn't be easy. Mitzvahs shouldn't be easy. I'll get to your question soon, Els, if that's all right. Let me finish off, and then I'll come to Elliot's question soon. And then he writes, and on Zoom as well, there's on Zoom, you can also put message questions. I'm getting questions on Facebook. If you got the paragraph there beginning V'hinei, and therefore Hashem has put man, b'mokom, in circumstances. Now I'm going to explain your life, why your life is as it is. Sherabim boy hamarchikim meisonim enisparach. Hashem has placed man in circumstances where many factors can distance you from Hashem. That's why it's not easy. In fact, the world itself is a hiding place for Hashem. The word for world, olam, means litalem, which means to hide. So the world per se is hiding Hashem. But then there's much more than that, unfortunately. First of all, You have bodily desires, physical desires. And so we're almost pulled by our body to desires which are not spiritual desires. The soul is pulled to do mitzvahs. So your neshama has been pulled to learn Ramchal tonight, to give tzedakah. But then the body is pulled the opposite. And the Ramchal explains, Yesharim yimoshech acharein, if you are chas v'sholem pulled by your body, hinehu misrachek v'hoylech min ha'tov ha'mitzi, then you could become distance from the ultimate good. So if you want to look at it like this, let's say this is you and this is Hashem, metaphorically, and the goal is to become one, the goal is to achieve that dveikus, so we're like that, but then Hashem creates marchikim, which try and push us away. So every day it's about, are you closer today or further today? Every hour, are you closer or further? It's all about, are we getting to this stage of dveikus? So next time you daven, try and get into a real state of dveikus. Try and get into a state of oneness with Hashem, where you totally clear your mind, your phone's off silent, you say, Hashem, I'm doing this, I want to have a chat with you, I want to have a relationship with you, I want to say thank you, I want to say sorry, I want to have requests, I want to give you praise. Let me just be with you for a while. Pray, you can get to that place in prayer where you mamish can get into a place of dveikus. Next time you give charity, say, Hashem, I'm doing this to give you nachas, I'm doing this to get close to you. It's important to have that kavanah before we do actions. Before we do actions. And then it says, V'nimtza shehu musam be'emes, and it transpires that actually Hashem's put us b'seich ha'milchama ha'chazaka. The truth is we're in the midst of a fierce war. Famously, the Chovos HaLevavos, Duties of the Heart, would say the story about a soldier coming back from war, and a Rebbe comes and says to him, where have you come from? And the soldier, I've come from the Great War. And the Rebbe laughs and says, you ain't seen nothing. This is the Great War. If you don't feel you're in a war, if you don't feel you're in conflict, if you don't feel you're in spiritual tension, something's not right. As Rabbi Tatz always puts it, if you have 40 days of your life, where all those 40 days are supremely tranquil and calm and serene, and everything's just going smoothly, then you should worry. Because that doesn't make sense. Because really we're here to grow. And we're here to get close to Hashem. And as the Ramchal is saying, we've been put in this midst of this huge war. And if you're not feeling that war, and there's this inner war and an outer war which we're describing. It's funny, the Yetzer Hara makes you think of it. It's so hard. Obviously I'm not cut out for it. Or obviously I'm not doing well. Or obviously maybe I don't want it. Or obviously I'm not holding. It's the opposite. The fact that you're in conflict, the fact that it's hard, the fact that it's tough, means Hashem is loving you and He's helping you and wanting you to progress. And that's the way you grow. You go through that tension. And then the Ramchal writes, Kichol inyanei ha'olam, every aspect of this world, bein l'tov, bein l'ra, whether good or bad, hein hinehem nisyonos la'adam, they are tests for mankind. Everything's a test. Go and get the book from Esther Jungreis, Life is a Test, where she's explaining this idea that that's why we're here. Life is a test. If you don't feel you've been tested today, you've missed the point. You've missed the greatest test. You failed the biggest test. Every day's a test. You're being tested on your patience. You're being tested on your ego. You're being tested on your midas. You're being tested on your emunah. You're being tested on your ability to give charity. There's hundreds of tests every hour really going on. And then he writes, Ha'oini mitzad echad, someone who's suffering with being poor, with financial problems. That's a test. V'ha'ishem mitzad echad. And someone who dafka is very wealthy, also a huge test. And which is more? Which is more? What do you think? What's more? The test of the pauper or the test of the billionaire? So the Ramchal says, like Shlomo HaMelech says, the test of the billionaire. Shlomo HaMelech says, in Mishlei, in chapter 30, Pen espa v'chichashti. The person who's very, very wealthy could say, I become so satisfied. Now I denied. I'm going to say, who is Hashem? Who is Hashem? So, because if your credit card can get you anything you want under the sun, right? Then why would you turn to Hashem? Right? Why would you turn to Hashem? Everything's from Hashem. In other words, your credit card can get you anything you want, so that stops you davening. And you start having a God complex. Literally, someone once came to my house who is very, 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 very wealthy man. And at a certain point, he turned around to me and said, Rabbi, there's only one God in my house, and that's me. He actually said that line. He actually really, genuinely, his relationship to God was himself. Purely himself. Because he didn't need Hashem. He seemingly was able to get anything he wanted from himself. So that's the Nisayon when things are going really well financially. You stop turning to Hashem. And yet, someone who's very poor, there's a different Nisayon. The Gonavdi v'tafasti Shem Elokai. Somebody, God forbid, who's going through a tough time financially, they could maybe be unethical, they could steal, they could misuse the name of Hashem, they could lie. That's also a problem. And then he writes, Shalva mitzad echot. Tranquility is a big test. It's an amazing thing. You know, we spend thousands and thousands and thousands of pounds just to have a tranquil couple of weeks. And yet the Ramchal is saying that's a huge test. You know, one of the most beautiful, there's a famous pasuk, Vayeshev Yaakov, in the Parsha of Vayeshev, and it says, and Yaakov settled, and it should have said he lived or he was sojourning. What does it mean he settled? It says Rashi, based on the Medrash, Bikesh Yaakov Leishe Bashalva. Yaakov asked for a holiday. He said, Hashem, enough. The whole of my life, I've been toiling the whole of my life. You've challenged me from when I was in my mother's womb. My brother was starting on me. And then as soon as I turned bar mitzvah, he's out to get me. And I finally had to run away from house. And then the biggest swindler in the world came my way in Lovon. And then the woman I married, I was tricked about marrying her. And then I worked hard for Lovon. He swindled me many times from all my money. And then finally I leave him. And then Esau comes back with 400 men. He tries to kill me. And then we just got away. Hashem, can I have, please, just a little holiday? Chill out a bit. Bit of chillaxing time. A little bit of relaxing time. Please. Says the Medrash. Hashem says back. Loi dayecho. Is it not enough? Shet tzadikim yoshvim b'shalvim ba'olam haba. That you, Yaakov Avinu, like the tzadikim, will be having tranquility for eternity. You want shalva in olam hazeh too. You want tranquility in this world too. Kofatz olav rogso shel Yosef. As a consequence, the biggest challenge came Jacob's way, which was very much the test of Yosef HaTzadik being taken away, his darling son being taken away. So you see this, everyone? That shalva, if you think about it, is not in the remit of getting close to Hashem when things are just like chilled and relaxing and everything's just chilling, right? So at that point, chilling, that's not the way you get close to Hashem. So shalva, so that's why I said last time, when you have your holiday, make sure you're growing on your holiday too. Make sure you're learning, make sure you're davening, make sure you're giving charity, make sure you're working on your midas. That every, ideally hour, but at least say 3 times a day, there's been real growth moments in your holiday. Because what we don't want is this zone of tranquility to encompass us. And then he says, on one hand, you've got your tranquility. On the other hand, you've got Yesharim. That we probably know a lot more about. So those Yesharim means challenges, hardships. So anyone that's going through physical pain, illnesses, they're grieving for losing loved ones now post-COVID, or if you're going through a breakup, you're going through a trauma. These are Yesharim. This many of us are much more familiar with. And that's why we're here. We're here because what are we going to do? Are we going to go and do what our Yitzhak wants us to do, which is, what's the point? I'm done. I've got no more strength to keep fighting, no more strength to keep growing, or even worse, you start having doubts in emunah, chas v'shalom. That's how the Yetzer Hara wants you to react to the Yisurim. Whereas the Yetzer Tov is trying to say, relax, just have emunah. Everything's good. Comes at a tova, like Nachum Ish Gamzu would say, everything's comes at a tova. And that's the fight. That the body and the Yetzer Hara wants to say, I'm done. I forget about it. Hashem, you obviously don't love me anymore. Someone said to me the other day, God hates me. Chas v'shalom. God can't even do hate. He loves us all tremendously. But it seems that way, and that's the Nisayon. Are we going to go and, God forbid, fail the test and think Hashem doesn't love me, or he's abandoned me? Or are we going to see through the Nisayon and say, you're still there, I'm not giving up on you, Hashem, and I'm still going to grow no matter what? Ad shenim tseis hamilchama, says the Ramchal, Elov ponim ba'achar, until you see that you are literally, find yourself at a war in front and at the back. Let's try and understand this now. The front and in the back. That means, on one hand, even when things are going well, that's a test, just to make sure you don't go into some apathy and disconnection, and you stop growing. Or, God forbid, when things are going badly, it's even easier, therefore, to get in disconnection and apathy. When you're healthy, I'm personally, the first time I really realized that I appreciated health was tragically when I got ill, and that was a big mistake. You're meant to really appreciate when things go well. But sometimes, actually, the Nisayon gets you into a greater place of appreciation. I want to share with you something that the Rabbi Tat says about Nisayon, because it's a famous question philosophically. Why is it that the Ramchal has said that life is a test? We're here to be tested. Why is that? Why is that? So let's have a think. Let's have a think. You see, Hashem, you could argue, Hashem's not an examiner, that he's there, he's a tester. Hashem is, and not only that, Hashem knows the result we're going to do. Hashem is not some professor that likes to test. So why is everything a test? Why is everything a test? Or the way Rabbi Tat likes to ask it, normally when you give someone a test, you actually don't know their capabilities. But Hashem does know our capabilities, and put it a different way, if it's a test that we can pass, that's not a test. If I just now asked you to do a mathematical equation like 2 times 3, I hope you could do it super easily. But if I could ask you without a calculator or using your phone to do something like, what's 2 million times 3.7 billion, etc. If I ask you a crazy, impossible, then it's not a test. You just don't know it. So what's the whole idea of a test? And then critically, why is the word for test in Hebrew, Nisayon, rooted in nes, which means a miracle? What's a miracle got to do with a test? And there's another Hebrew word, nes, which is a banner. So explains Ratz's Rebbe of Moshe Shapiro amazingly that this is the point of a test. And hopefully this can give you chizuk, my friends, next time Hashem tests you. You're meant to get to a place of a test where you hit a certain point and you say, I can't do this anymore. I don't have the physical, mental, emotional, spiritual strength to get me to succeed. I can't. I am giving up. Now, Hashem, it's only down to you. So Hashem, you take over. You do it. And then a few hours later, you've got through it. So then you can look back and say, wow, look what Hashem did. Look what Hashem did. So that's why a nes is connected to Nisayon, because the consequence of the test is there to reveal Hashem. So think about it. The real tests in your life, it's not that you overcame them, but it was you gave over, you surrendered your ego, you surrendered your physicality, and you gave over to Hashem and said, Hashem, you take over, you do it, and then Hashem gets you through it. And that's what a test is, and that's why it also means the word nes, which is a banner as well. You're raising the banner of Hashem as such. Let's continue. Next paragraph. Says the Ramchal, Ve'im yehyeh leben chayil, and if he is a warrior. So one more thing I thought of. It says in the previous chapter, previous paragraph, that you find the war is in front and behind, and that makes me wonder if it's also connected to another famous pasuk where we say in davening, where we say v'hoser sotam milfoneinu miacharenu. We say, Hashem, please remove Satan milfoneinu miacharenu, the same expression. But the Mesillas Shalom explains that it's actually referring to before the act and after the act. So often what happens in life is you have an action, and in that action it's sandwiched in the pre and the post. So for example, let's say Shabbos. One of the big problems for people is on Shabbos, on a Friday afternoon, just before Shabbos, there's normally turmoil in the house and crazy arguments happen. People lose their temper. People say things they regret. And that's the Yetzer Hara with Satan trying to get you into Shabbos in a bad mood. And that's what Rabbi Nachman, for example, used to say, just do everything you need for Shabbos and then run off to the Beis HaMedrash. Just almost get out of the firing line, because it's going to be, there's chaos normally. So we're coming up to Purim, be aware just before Purim. We're coming up to Pesach, Mamash just before Pesach. The stress and the tension in many homes before Pesach is very much, and we have to understand, Mesillas is going to try and make us enter into Pesach angry with our spouse, angry with our family members. Because before a big mitzvah, there's a big kitrug before the mitzvah, just to see, are we going to allow the mitzvah to happen? That's why the chosen, before he gets married, on the day of chosen and kala, they're not allowed to even be walking by themselves in the street, because they're about to venture into such a huge spiritual magnitude of the two souls coming as one, that the Shin Dalids are really allowed to chas v'shalom harm them, and therefore they're not allowed to be by themselves. That's prior to a mitzvah. But what's amazing is post the mitzvah, the Yetzer Hara tries one more time. And once you've done the mitzvah, the Yetzer Hara tries again. For example, and I used to do lots of trips around the world, or Shabbatons. Always the way back, there was bedlam. There was huge traffic, crazy weather problems, issues with flights, because the Yetzer Hara was waiting to see, was I going to say, oh my gosh, it wasn't worth going. I regret going. Just to say it wasn't worth it. It's like when you give a lot of stocker, you've got the problem just before you give stocker, can I give it? The Yetzer Hara is trying to stop you giving it. But even once you've given it, the Yetzer Hara will try again and say, oh, really, could you have afforded it? Maybe he's going to give you a big bill. You know, Hashem will give you a bill, and the Yetzer Hara is waiting to see, you're now going to say, oh, if I would have known I was getting a bill, I wouldn't have given that stocker, because he's waiting to see, are you going to regret it? Because if chas v'shalom we regret the mitzvah, it's as if it never happened. Something you should know. Just like tshuva has the power to regret away our sins, chalila, the counter of tshuva, which is regretting the mitzvah, has the ability in some areas to, God forbid, regret away the mitzvah. So that's the idea, that always be very careful post the mitzvah when Mesillas is going to try and attack you once more. And the Mesillas Shalom explains beautifully that's what happened with Avram Avinu. Just before the Akedah, the Yetzer Hara was trying to stop him do the Akedah of sacrificing Yitzchak. But then afterwards, it tried again by getting Sarah, his soulmate, to die as a consequence of the Akedah. He was hoping Avram was going to say, oh my gosh, look, we killed my wife now. Yitzchak, your mum's died as a result of the Akedah. But that's why the Mesillas Shalom says, it says, Vayispeit Avram lif kaisa, he cried for her, and it says in the Torah, with a small kaf. Why a small kaf? Because, says the Mesillas Shalom, he didn't let the Yetzer Hara beat him. He was sad. Obviously, his soulmate had died, but he didn't regret it one moment. He didn't regret the fact that he was willing to sacrifice everything for Hashem. That wasn't spoilt by the trauma, what happened after the Akedah. Let's just finish off with the last few lines here from the Mesillas Shalom, and then please God will answer Elliot's question. So then it says, if you become a valiant and a warrior and you win your victory, then you will have perfected yourself and you'll be able to cleave to your Creator. Listen to how beautiful this is. This is magical. This is what it's like when we leave this world. You will leave this corridor and you will enter Betroklin, you will enter Hashem's palace, Li'ar Ba'ar HaChayim, permeated with the glow of life. Any of you have lost loved ones, that's where they are. They're permeated with the glow of life in Hashem's palace. Ukfi hashir, listen to this. According to the degree, asher kovash es yitzrei, that you've conquered your desires, v'tavosov, and your lusts, v'nisrachek min amarchikim, and you've distanced yourself from the distances, mi'atoi, that tried to withdraw you from the tov, v'nishtadil l'dobek boy, and to the proximity that you wanted to get close to Hashem. Ken yasigu v'yismach boy. It's exactly to that correlation is you're closest to Hashem. For example, if any of you say, you know what, I was really inspired by tonight, I'm going to go and maybe do some extra learning tonight, or extra davening, I'm going to start saying Tehillim more, and you're davening and learning when you're tired, then that's worth times 100 of when you do it when it's easy. And therefore you're entitled to a much greater relationship with Hashem in the next world, because it's that. Your closeness to Hashem is based on how hard it was. It's based on how much you revealed Hashem in this world is the level that you can reveal Hashem in the next. So I wish you well. You should all have tremendous simcha. Let's just ask answer Elliot's question very quickly. Elliot's asked me, you shouldn't just do it by rote. No, of course you shouldn't just do it by rote, right? You should, whatever you're doing, whatever mitzvah you're doing, say, Hashem, I'm doing this for you. I'm doing it because I want to connect to you, Hashem. I'm doing it because this is to give you nachas ruach. It's like your grandfather you're giving nachas to. As I can tell you now from my grandfather, there's nothing more yummy than my grandchildren coming and saying, Zaidi, can I have a hug? And I give them a hug. That's mamish must be how Hashem feels, that when we run into shul during COVID, in other words, we're socially distanced, right? And we're going in the garden and it's -7 and we're still saying Hallel. Can you imagine the spiritual jubilation of the Hallel in Shamayim? For those people that was -7 and they were still singing away saying Hallel. Unbelievable. Or for those people in shul, we're wearing masks, that don't like to wear masks, the more uncomfortable, the more discomfort it is for us, actually we're going to get more rewarded in the next world. So hope you enjoyed. That was lesson number 3 of Mesillas Yesharim. If you want to join me on Wednesday night on Facebook, we're going to be doing about Stocker, about Truma from this week's, etc. And then please God, next Sunday night, the Hashem self will be Mesillas Yesharim part 4. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, North End and Adas, for facilitating to us. Carlton, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Pleasure.
Thank you.
Good night. Anyone on Facebook want to ask me? I'll stay on Facebook for another couple of minutes. Ariella, how are you? What's up? I can chill now. Whenever I put Zoom off, I'm more relaxed. What's Ricky asking? Are you still there, Ricky? Would you like to ask a question? I think it wasn't just the delusion of grandeur. He really felt he was God. He really had because to be honest, if you're an atheist, you don't believe in God, and you've got everything you need, then yeah, I think you could. The Gemara even says many doctors have a God complex as well. People who are healing and actually got people's lives in their hands, then there could be a bit of a God complex for that as well. So that's a problem. Anyway, any questions before I leave you on Facebook? Thanks for joining, Crystal. Always love it when you join. I loved what you wrote last week on Wednesday night. It was very inspirational. And you're inspirational and keep going. Yeah. Ricky, so welcome to the club. Ricky's now a new regular. So awesome. And if anybody wants to join, we've got Kabbalah of Love tomorrow night on Zoom only. So message me if you want to join the Zoom. We're going to be learning about the power of Tehillim tomorrow night in Kabbalah of Love, if anybody fancies that. Thanks, guys. Awesome to see you. Hopefully you're feeling super invigorated and incredibly close to Hashem. Take care. Bye.